Well, the Uvalde video leaked this week has sparked more calls for police accountability now.
But the chances they'll be held criminally or even civilly responsible are slim. Attorney Jim DeSimone joins us live now to explain further. Good morning to you, Jim. Thanks for being here. Only one officer from the scene is known to be on leave, and that's the chief. So when we talk about consequences here, if criminal consequences are not likely to happen, what about the chances for civil or administrative consequences?
Well, there's a natural desire of these parents who have suffered such a tragic loss to gain accountability through the courts. And there's no question that it's going to be an uphill battle for them to do so. But I do see a sliver of hope for those families in that they and others were prevented from rescuing these children by the Uvalde Police Department and other police agencies. And once those police agencies prevent others from rescuing those children, they assume a duty of care and they have a duty to go in and rescue. And so that can overcome the immunities that often exist to prevent people from gaining justice in the courts.
What type of legal protections are in place for police in the first place?
Well, you have generally sovereign immunity, which goes back to British common law that says the king can do no wrong and you can't sue the king. And in Texas, you have an exception if the public official gets in a car accident, uses a piece of property that causes some injury. But qualified immunity for the individuals, officers involved, is really what is preventing people from getting justice in the courts, because qualified immunity means that a judge decides the case in a back room with a written decision. It never gets to a jury, deprives us of a Seventh Amendment right to a jury trial. And essentially, if there was no case that has gone to the appellate courts that's directly on point in a similar circumstance, the officers can be qualified immune, and there's no way to bring them to justice.
So what's the difference between this and the Parkland shooting? Because in Parkland, a deputy was criminally charged with several counts of neglecting to protect students, and there was a lot of debate over whether, he could have stopped that shooting. He argues he did as he was trained. But I mean, this is all on video here in Uvalde, the officers just waiting. So what is the difference between Parkland and Uvalde?
Well, that's a great question. The similarities seem to outweigh any of the differences here, and really that becomes prosecutorial discretion as to whether prosecutors are going to have the gumption to haul these officers into court and criminally prosecute them for their deliberate indifference. So I see more similarities than differences, and it comes down to certain choices that are being made by those in charge.
Moving forward, is there any way to predict what will happen with parents in Uvalde who are so upset over this? Would they be able to sue police there for refusing to save their school kids?
I think their best hope is through the federal civil rights causes of action. There's an analogous case out of the 7th District where police prevented divers from rescuing a boy who was drowning, and they were held to be potentially liable because they prevented others from rescuing. So there is precedent that may end up helping those parents if they turn to federal civil rights law as an avenue for redress here.
And Jim, is there a specific legal requirement that does require officers to act in a certain way when they're faced with something like this?
There really isn't. I mean, it's notoriously difficult to sue the police for failing to intervene in a particular circumstance. They are given a wide degree of discretion, but that legal doctrine where if you prevent someone from engaging in that rescue, then you assume that responsibility, that general rule of law is what gives me and others some hope that there may be a way to get justice in the courts for the police, what was clearly deliberate indifference in the face of children who were being subjected to gunfire.
Well, certainly it's such a high-profile case. Certainly our hope, our prayer is that major lessons are learned like this so that no family has to deal with something so tragic like this again. Thank you for your time this morning and for walking us through all that, Jen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.